Heads up to everyone, we are going to go live on YouTube now. All right. Welcome, everyone. Good to see you all here today. Thank you for joining us again. See a few more folks who have come into the room. Welcome to you. Again, I'm Angela Carter. I'm the program manager for Measure 110, and I will be supporting facilitation of the meeting today. The Oversight and Accountability Council welcomes and encourages community input. Members of the public are invited to submit public comments, or if you would like to get on our interested parties email list, you can reach out to oha.measure110@dhsoha.state.or.us. And that email, along with more information about the council, can be found on the Measure 110 OAC website. If you would like more information or support with community engagement, please reach out to Jessica Carroll, whose email is in the chat. Our council members have asked that OHA and other staff who are present in the meeting space, please introduce yourself in the chat. Let us know what your role is with OHA, and if you are a subject matter expert, what your area of expertise is, and if you'd be so kind to share your contact information and your pronouns as well, that would be helpful. Thank you. All right. I think it looks like we have a pretty good number of folks here already. I'm going to do a quick head count, and then we can begin taking roll.
Let's do it. Hello, everyone. Walter Bailey here. Glad to see your smiling faces. We're going to take it from the top. So, oops, one other person's coming in. Just 1 second. Hi, Caroline. Ashley. All right. It's
good, Caroline.
Yeah, Caroline just showed up. All right.
That's wonderful.
Amy.
I'm here.
Hi, Amy. Blue. I think I see Blue.
Here.
Hi, Blue. Carlos. Caroline.
Present.
Hi, Caroline. All right. Dharma.
I'm here.
Hi, Dharma. Aowen.
Here.
Hi, Aowen. Henry. Hubert. I think I see Hubert.
Present.
Hey.
Right there.
All right. Karen. Keisha. Would you say, go ahead, Angela?
I was just going to say, I don't think that Karen is going to be able to make today, unfortunately.
Okay. Leticia. Leticia's here. Oh, there she is. Okay. Melinda.
Melinda is running late.
Okay. Morgan. I think I saw Morgan.
Here.
Hi, Morgan. Nicole. Onisha. I see Onisha. Hi, Onisha.
Hi.
And Ron. Hey, Ron is here. Sabrina.
Yes, I'm here.
Sabrina's here. Zeb.
Hello, Walter. Yes, I'm here.
All right. And I do see Nicole just came. Oops. Nicole. All right. Steve. I see Steve. Hi, Steve.
Hey, Walter. Hey, everybody.
And Reginald is here.
I'm here.
All right. We have quorum. Give it back over to you, Angela. We can roll.
Marvelous. Thank you. Thank you very much, Walter. All right. So, our tri-chair leading the meeting today is Sabrina. And so I will pass over to Sabrina to give us a picture of what our agenda is going to look like today. Sabrina, if you need any support around that, I did recently send an updated agenda, and I just want to make sure you have it.
Thank you so much, Angela. I do have it. I'm just worried about my computer. Sometimes the sound lags.
Oh,
So if
mhm.
you need to, just stop me in the middle of it. But welcome everybody to this Wednesday. We are going to first go over some OHA updates. We're going to talk about a timeline extension. We're going to talk about the budget timeline for the burns, a quorum in the burn committee, and how often we'll fund the burns. We'll have the tri-chair election, and then we have some action items at the end. And with that, Angela, I'll turn it back to you.
All right. Thank you, Sabrina. Excuse me. So I have just a couple of updates before we jump into today's conversation. The first one is that the rules became permanent on Saturday, February 26th. Congratulations. I just want to commend all of you for your work together on creating these. It's been a year and you did it. So well done. Congratulations on accomplishing a huge and very complex project together. Honestly, what you've created here is revolutionary, and I'm grateful to all of you for all of your work and all your thoughtfulness to creating these rules. So, yay, well done. Thank you. The other update I have is about stipends. So at this point, the Measure 110 team has taken over processing any stipend invoices or requests from the council. So moving forward, if you would please send all of your stipend requests to Isra, and I will drop Isra's email into the chat. Oh, Isra already did that right there. So thank you, Isra. Isra will be processing your stipends. And if you could just CC me on any emails that you send so that I can approve those and we can get them moved along, that would be great. Thank you. Okay, those are my updates. If it's all right with you, Sabrina, may I jump into the first topic? Okay. So, as most of you are aware at this point, we've had some slowdown in the process of evaluations for the burn grants. And at this point, we are getting ready to get started again with the evaluations process in committee. But I just wanted to give you a very thorough rundown of how the process is going to look for us moving forward and make sure that the council agrees with the process of evaluations. So I'll give you a verbal rundown of what we're going to do. I will follow it with written so that you can read through and have something to look back on and make sure that you understand what we're up to. Basically, what we're going to do is restart the process on March 6th. We are still working on getting all of the completed rubrics together from the council. And at this point, if you need any assistance at all with your rubrics, with filling them out, we are 100% here to help. If you want to set up a call with us or a Zoom or get assistance with transcription or ask questions about the applications, just let us know. I'm going to be available and on call 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. for this week and the weekend to make sure that if you have a question come up while you're working on it, you have somebody to talk to. So feel free to reach out to me during the weekend at any time. And during the week, you can reach out to me and or Jessica, and we will help get you connected to some support. Jessica is available 7 a.m. to 7 p.m. All right. So what we're hoping is to get all the evaluations that you are going to be able to complete from you by the end of the day on the 6th, which is a Sunday. And then if there are any applications that are still yet unfinished with the review, we would like to take those on. OHA would like to take those from you so that we can get them reviewed quickly and move forward with the review process in committee. We have offered that we will give you access to all of the rubrics that are going to be reviewed at the next meeting 2 days prior to that meeting so that you have time to read through them and get a sense of what the evaluations say. And if you do not feel that the recommendation on the evaluation is appropriate, you are going to be given an opportunity to provide a written response to any of the award recommendations that you don't agree with. You can bring your written response to the subcommittee meeting and then read it as part of the discussion before the vote occurs. If you're not going to be able to attend a meeting where an evaluation is being reviewed, but you want to offer written comment, you can send your written responses to us at OHA, and we will make sure that we read them in the meeting for you. So as far as the meetings go, the last round, we had put forward the idea of about 3 minutes of review per application, but that because there's a lot of conversation that needs to happen with some of the evaluations, it wasn't quite the right amount of time. So what I'm recommending is that we set aside about 8 minutes per review for the reviewers to present their reviews, answer any questions, receive any feedback from the rest of the committee. Anyone who has comments may share them or read their written feedback, and then vote on that individual entity's application. So with 8 minutes or so per application, we're going to need about 44 hours of review in subcommittee. So in subcommittee, what we will do is review each of the evaluations in the county independently of the other entities. And any members who have conflicts of interest will be allowed to step out into a breakout room or into the lobby of Zoom. And then the committee will vote and those members can come back in. When the final votes from the committee are finished, we will take all of those votes, both for award or not for award, bring them to the full council and go through the process of voting on the final awards. So once the final awards are voted on, and we have a specific set of entities for every county designated as burn partners. If the services are not complete for that county, then OHA will create direct awards with entities that can fulfill the requirements that are needed to fulfill the full suite of burn services. And we will definitely be consulting with the OAC on these direct awards. So the goal is to meet for 4 hours on Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays, total of about 12 hours a week to do all of the reviews. And that process will take about 4 weeks. So our schedule would be Mondays from 1 to 5, Wednesdays from 12 to 4, and Fridays from 9 to 1. So the goal is to begin reviews next Wednesday, March 9th, and go through until the beginning of April. And then we are hoping to have a vote in the full council on April 6th. And then after the award letters go out, the award letters would be a combination of, yes, you got an award. These are your partners in your county or your tribal nation that you'll be working with. And then we'll also be sending out a template for each of the burn partners to create a memorandum of understanding with each other. OHA is probably going to need about 4 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks to build and negotiate all of the grant agreements with each of the entities. So that would mean that the funding would go out about the first, second week of May. So I'll pause there, as I know that that was an earful. Does anyone have any questions about the process that we're going to use moving forward? And are there any changes that you think that you might like to make to that evaluation process? I just want to leave open rooms for some discussion here if anyone has any thoughts. Hello, Zeb. Yes, please.
Hi, thank you very much. I just want to say like the scripts that we got last time were very helpful. I was just wondering if it's possible that we can make some adjustments and add additional spots for information on the scripts that we get.
I think we still have time if there is information that you think is pertinent to the reviews. I think that depending on the amount of information, people could potentially add that information in. What is the specific information that you would like to add to the scripts?
I don't have my rubric thing.
Oh, your mute went back on, Zeb. I'm sorry.
Sorry about that. Yeah, let me get back to you on that because I want to make sure I have the wording correct. And it's only one thing that I want to add, but let me get back to you on that.
Okay. Okay. Blue, please go ahead.
So I had a couple of thoughts. And one is that I believe we need a majority in the subcommittee to be able to essentially move forward with agreement about recommendations. And and I'm assuming that also means, like, let's say there's 14 people on the subcommittee, but only 10 show up. I'm assuming that if 6 people vote yes, that's maybe, even though it's the majority of who's there, it's not a majority of the total subcommittee. So I don't know if anyone else has conflicts with the proposed times, but that would be one thing we should maybe consider so that we're not essentially pushing this out. And since we will all essentially be voting on the final decisions as a full council, I would also just ask people to reconsider saving some time and possibly not going through subcommittee votes again, just to keep things moving. Since at the end of the day, we're still going to have another vote. We're still going to have another discussion. And so I don't know that that's the best use of our time. I'm sure there are benefits to it, but at this point, since we've also taken a little longer than anticipated, I would ask people to think about whether that might be a good idea or not. Thank you.
Thank you, Blue. So I'll let everyone give their thoughts first, and then we can go into a bit of discussion. Onisha, would you like to make a comment, share a thought?
Sure. I just have a logistical ask of OHA staff. Can you get me those dates and times for the Mondays, Wednesdays, and Fridays in writing so that I can make arrangements with my employer? Because with those, it's an extensive amount of hours to miss from work, and I need to make some arrangements, probably even take some PTO, so that you guys can have my full attention. And if I could get those dates and writings from you this evening, it'll give me enough time to prepare.
Yes. If the council approves of this process, we're going to send it out. Well, whatever the process may be, we will send out a written document of the final process to everybody with the dates and the times listed. So we'll definitely follow this in writing. So that does, Blue's comment brings us to another discussion that and calendar invites. Yes, we'll send those out as well. But Blue's point about the committee and quorum is another point of conversation we'll be talking about in a few minutes. But the number of the number of folks that we have currently in the subcommittee is 12. And so what the quorum for that would be in statute is half plus one, essentially. So seven members of the subcommittee would be quorum. And the council could make adjustments to that. However, it is recommended that we stick with what is in statute as far as the number of people for quorum to assure that the process is streamlined and is also following the statutory requirements. But before I go into any other conversation, are there any other thoughts about this process? And would you like to talk about how you would like to address the final vote in the full council? Ron, please go ahead.
No, I just wanted to appreciate the level of detail and specificity that you provided in this process. I think it'll be very helpful going forward. I just wanted to appreciate you.
Thank you. Any other thoughts about the process? Okay. So if we feel good about this process, we'll go ahead and move forward with it. Do you all want to talk about how you will do this work in the final vote in the council? Would you like to present all of the awards and have a vote on that? Would you like to go through independently, individually, and vote on each of the entities? Would you, what would work best? I just want to make sure that we have really good clarity so that we can move through this process as smoothly as possible.
Can you repeat the question, Angela, please?
Yes, the question is, we have the plan laid out for subcommittee, how the process is going to go. Once we go back to the full council for the final vote, because the committee has not been given the power to make the final decision, we do need a vote of some kind. Do you want to vote independently on each entity and the recommendations that the subcommittee has made? Or would you like to go potentially county by county? Or would you like to look at the entire set of awards and vote on that? Those are my thoughts as far as options. Blue, please go ahead.
I guess now that I heard you repeat the question, I'm not entirely sure if what I'm thinking is accurate, but when I did see the screen with the schedule up briefly, it looked like there was 1 4-hour council meeting to make all of those, full council meeting to make all of those votes. And I'm sure we all remember what was at the end of last summer, that when we did go over rules, it took us a very long time. So I think regardless of the system, we very well may need more time than those 4 hours that are currently blocked out. But it definitely could go faster with some of the systems that you recommended. I just wanted to throw that in there.
Yeah, thank you. Hello, Dharma. Yes, please go ahead.
I think it makes sense for full council to evaluate county by county. And a reason for that too is that I think that the subcommittee's work will really get into the detail of the individual awards. And I really trust my fellow council members to do that due diligence. And so I think it makes sense for us to look at county by county, especially because we'll need to be making decisions based on like the full burn, right?
Mhm.
And I think it makes more sense. It'll streamline the process to do so. I also agree with Blue that I think it's going to take more than one council meeting, depending on the amount of discussion. But I think if we're already having the subcommittee there, any council member has the ability to join that subcommittee if you want to have feedback on the individual awards. And so I think that it'll keep us going and keep this timeline moving forward if we do county by county in that final council award decision.
Okay. Thank you, Dharma. Yes, Ron, please.
Yeah, I just wanted to agree with Dharma about counties. Also was hoping, I missed part of what Blue's recommendation was. Would she be willing to repeat it?
So I just, I talked a little bit about that. We may very well need more time. And then earlier on, I just suggested that considering we are going to have to vote all over again as a full council, that all of these blocks of time that we've blocked out for the subcommittee in my thought process, it might be better to like take those Wednesdays where most people will probably have a quorum at full council and maybe just do discussion at a full council meeting so that we're not pushing that deadline farther and farther back to get these funds out.
Thank you.
And Angela, my question was, can you give an example of what doing a county by county would look like?
Mm-hmm. So we would get all of the recommendations, and we basically could use the spreadsheets that we've already had in place that just display, you know, this organization does harm reduction and peer support. This organization does treatment. This organization would offer housing and all of the rest of the services that are needed to complete a burn. So we would have a list of all of the recommended awarded organizations to share, and then we could vote on the entire cluster for each county and each tribal nation. Does that clarify?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. And Dharma, yes.
And I'm just assuming that we'll get like a summary of the subcommittee recommendations out to the council before those meetings, right? So that we can
Yes.
review those before, so we're not all doing it in real time in council.
Yes. I think, again, at least 2 days prior to the meeting, so that everybody has a chance to look over the recommended awards and see who would be in the burns for each of the counties, so that they could come prepared to vote and offer any comments in the full council meeting. So we have several folks who have said that county by county seems to make sense. Are there any thoughts? Oh, okay. I think I hear Keisha making a motion.
I would like to how do I say? Make a motion that we review the proposals county by county.
Okay, so we have a proposal, a motion on the table from Keisha to review in the full council after the recommendations, each county by county, of the proposed awards. We would also notify you and vote on the organizations that would not receive awards. So you would know who's being recommended and who not, so that you could make a final vote on that. And I see Dharma's hand.
Sorry, again, I just want to make sure too that if when we're going county by county, are we getting like a budget breakdown of how much it's taking away from the total amount allotted, and like how we're going to be tracking that? I guess I get worried that we would like start voting on counties one by one and then maybe miss out later on down the line.
Right.
Or yeah, are we going to have like an overall budget summary along with the county breakdowns?
Well, at this point, we could provide an estimation because, you know, if the committee votes to, say, partially award an organization, like yay, we love your housing, we love your peer support, but we're not so sure about your SUD treatment program. So we're going to award housing and peer support, but not the treatment program. We can get somewhat of a sense of what that would be, what would be required for funding. But I think that the main point is, do we award or not award? And then OHA would take the time after the final vote for the awards to negotiate the actual amount. So for instance, if an organization presented a budget that was 20 months long, we would talk to that organization and say, this is an 18-month award, and we are going to fund these two programs, but not this program. So we would give you funding for an 18-month period for these two programs and not award you for this program. So we can get close, but we can't know exactly until we do the negotiations process. And we also, this is something to think about as well. We will also have some direct awards. There will be several counties that are not a full suite of services. And so we'll need to go back and look at what those services need to be to fulfill the need in the county, and then do a direct award with those. So there'll be a little bit of potential change in the total award amount, but we can try and get as close as possible. Sabrina.
I just don't know if anybody saw Keisha's comment in the chat box.
There should have been a
Been a
second,
motion.
then discussion. Okay, so we'll pause there. Is there a second to the motion?
Second.
Okay, we have a second from Dharma. Thank you. Is there any further discussion on the motion to review the counties one at a time in the full council as the final award making process? All right, hearing no comments, let's go ahead and make a vote.
All right. Let's do this. Take it from the top. Amy, how do you?
Yes.
Thank you, Amy. How about Blue?
Yes.
Thanks, Blue. Excuse me. Caroline? Folks. What was that, Caroline?
I know Caroline has been having a lot of trouble with connectivity issues. Internet has been down.
Oh, okay. Carlos?
But
Yes, there we go.
There you go. All right. And then Caroline, I know she's been having some.
So can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I agree.
Thank you, Caroline. Dharma?
Yes.
Thank you, Dharma. Elwin?
Yes.
Thank you. Elwin. Henry?
Yes.
Thank you, Henry. Hubert?
Yes.
Thank you, Hubert. Karen? Oh, Karen's not here. Keisha?
Yes.
Thanks, Keisha. Leticia?
Yes.
Thanks, Leticia. Melinda? Oh, she has not come in. Yeah. Morgan?
Yes.
Thank you, Morgan. Nicole?
Yes.
Thank you, Nicole. Onisha?
Yes.
Okay. Thanks, Onisha. Ron?
Yes.
Thank you, Ron. Sabrina?
Yes.
Thanks, Sabrina. Zeb?
Yes.
All right. We have 16. The vote passes.
wonderful. Okay. Thanks y'all for making sure that we have a good, clear process for this moving forward. I think it'll speed things up and give a lot more clarity. All right. If I may, I will move to our next topic, which is that we had talked about, a timeline for the burn budgets. And you all had voted for that timeline to be 18 months. But because of the delay, I just wanted to check in with you all and make sure that you still feel good about that number. 18 months from May would be the beginning of November of 2023. And we learned from the Office of Contracts and Procurement here at OHA that yes, indeed, we can carry over these grants into the 23-25 biennium without a problem. In Exhibit B, Section 3 of all OHA contracts, there is an allowance for this provision. So I just wanted to check in. How do you feel about the 18-month number? Do you want to make any changes to that considering the change in the timeline? If not, that is totally fine. We can keep with the 18 months. I just wanted to make sure. Yes, Caroline.
It creates fiscal for some of us. I hope you guys hear me okay, but it creates a fiscal nightmare when we start changing just into a fiscal year, because then we don't know if we're going to be continuing this. We haven't had discussion about that. Once you get this grant, it is going to be base, is it going to continue, or we're going to have to go through this process all over again. I prefer for us to stay within the fiscal year. So if we start in May, then it's not really an 18-month contract. It's now a January, February, March, April, May. Now it's a 13th month contract. I think the majority of the grants that I had previously reviewed, most of them had startup costs. And so they're not going to need that startup cost after the fiscal year. So I would prefer for it to stay in the fiscal year, which would then put it through June of 2023.
The end of the biennium for the 21-23 biennium, yes, is June 30th, 2023. Any other thoughts on crossing the biennium line? Yes, Ron.
Yeah, hi. Yeah, just from the perspective of kind of providers in the community and kind of what I've heard from them is that the 18 months is very desirable for them because it allows them to not only get the services started up, but be able to really get them solidly established. And I hear Caroline regarding fiscal year, but I think it's wonderful also that OC&P has made a judgment that it's okay for us to cross over into the next biennium to spend the money that we're allocating now. I think that's a great advantage to helping these services get solidly established in all the communities.
Thank you, Ron. Onisha.
Yes, I very much think that we should stick to the 18 months because a lot of the delays, well, all of the delays don't have anything to do with the CBOs. And I think it would be unfair if, because of the delays, the ones who did qualify for funding this time around only got 13 months worth of funding when they applied for, and we gave them the intention that they were going to qualify for 18 months. So say someone qualifies for this biennium and they only get 13 months due to our error or our inability not to be organized enough to get the funding out on time, and then they apply again in the next biennium and they don't qualify and they don't get picked for an award, we've cut their funding short. So I understand the fiscal complications that might arise, but I think that's kind of more or less on on our end to have to handle and figure out, because I think it's cheating them out of 5 months worth of funding that they otherwise would have received, especially because we cannot guarantee just because they receive funding this biennium that they're going to automatically receive funding again when this funding stream opens up. So I think it'll be very unfair to take 5 months of funding away from them. Extremely unfair.
Thank you, Anisha. Keisha.
I think that I'm kind of in line with Carolyn. I think we should stick with the fiscal year because I know they're gonna be short some months, but this bulk of money is larger than will be in the other bienniums because of the less amount of months. So I just don't know what that looks like moving forward. But I don't know what are I don't know. I just think we should because this is going to be the biggest bulk of money, and I don't want to mess with that and extend it and shorten their funding because we extended it for months.
Thank you, Keisha. Lou?
I have a couple thoughts, and I'm absolutely not an expert in any way around budgets and all of these things, but I had a couple thoughts, which is one, if there are organizations who would feel more comfortable taking their award money and stopping at the biennium rather than continuing on to what would be a full 18 months, would that be an issue? Would they have the ability to do that? Like if Caroline is saying like for a program that she works with or she understands that it's better for them to go only to the biennium, could that be an option if an organization wanted to opt in and, only go through that time? That way the organizations who it's not a problem for could potentially, carry that funding for a full 18 months. And I don't know if that's like something that, you can't do. I don't know. But I also, from my understanding, I think we're going to have a little bit more money in the next biennium because we did take a chunk of, I think, around 30 million out from what we initially had to do the access to care. So I think, from my understanding, we should have a little bit more in the next biennium, but again, my understanding of that is limited. So I think we may be okay in terms of the amounts going out in the next round, but those are just my thoughts. Thank you.
Thank you, Blue. And Caroline.
I wasn't saying that we're dividing it into 18 months. I'm saying the fiscal year. So the amount of money that they applied for will still be what would be awarded. It's just that the fiscal year would end June 30th, 2023, with the total amount that they had applied for, basically because of the fact that there's a lot of startup money that I saw in the grants that I had read, that there was a lot of things in terms of getting some computers, getting furniture, getting, different type of things that is described as startup. And so I'm not saying it just to end in November, it just, without any guarantee that we're going to continue it on and that we're automatically getting an agreement in December. I mean, so we either stay with fiscal year, or we stay with a calendar year. And it's just a nightmare. So I'm not saying take away the 5 months because it wasn't their fault. I'm just saying that they get the award that they applied for, and then we go through June 30th, and then hopefully we will have this process under our belt to make sure that we get that next agreement, before that original agreement ends. And so I'm just saying we're not taking away 5 months. We're just granting them the same amount. But you can make it retroactive to January. I mean, and make it an 18-month program. But it's not, I'm not looking at an 18-month program. We're looking in terms of the amount that's going to be awarded would be good through the end of June. And to be quite honest, there probably is going to be carryover because this might be the first time people are applying and they have no idea in terms of how long it's going to take to hire people, how long it's going to take to train people, and
Oh. Caroline, if you can hear us.
it's a fiscal nightmare.
We heard up until how long it's going to train people, and then we were not able to hear the rest of what you said. Would you be able to repeat it?
Yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay, I apologize. Warren Springs, our whole internet system is down. And so I'm on my brother's internet. So that means I'm a house away. So all I'm saying, that not to take away the money, but a lot of folks are going to have trouble hiring. They're going to have to invest time with hiring. They're going to invest time with new computers, new office. And so this is really a startup year. But if we went through November and we don't have our act together, then there's not going to be any guarantee that our new agreement is going to start in December. I mean, it's a fiscal nightmare for people who understand how to do finances. You either do a calendar year or you do a fiscal year.
Thank you, Caroline. Lou, go ahead.
So I'm definitely probably the least experienced with funding and fiscal years and all of that. But my thought, which could be off for many different reasons, is that I'm hoping that we are learning from the length of time this process is taking right now, so that we are set up well in advance to, after this round of funding for burns, we get everything in order so that the next funding cycle starts July 1st, 2023. So that we don't keep doing this and having, strange deadlines that don't really line up with any other funding cycles that people are applying for. I'm hoping that after this and we, we start to learn what works and how much time we need, that by the time the next funding cycle comes around, it will be in line with the fiscal year, because I agree with that. Like it does need to be consistent. I'm in my thought, I'm hoping that this was just, we tried our best and we didn't quite make those deadlines, but, and I may have misunderstood you, Caroline, but if it's somehow easier for another organization to spend out their funds by the end of the fiscal year, that they could have that option, even if other organizations didn't, but that wouldn't take away any of the money that they were, given or awarded. But yeah, I am hoping that we are learning that we need to start a lot earlier and streamline our process for the next round, so that we can stay on top of what I think we had agreed on at some point earlier, which was to ideally stick to fiscal years. Thank you.
Thank you, Lou. Onisha.
Yeah, I just want to thank Carolyn for her expertise, and definitely apologize for my ignorance in not understanding the fiscal years and the funding part. And I guess I have a clarifying question to the council, that if we do not agree to fund 18 months of this portion and turn it into 13 months, will those people who applied for funding lose a significant amount of money? And if the answer is yes, is there an alternative? Like, I guess I just don't understand how we can promise a program to fund them for this certain length of time, and then due to errors on our part, say that you have to lose money. And because I'm saying this is because there's no guarantee that the people who get funded this time will be automatically refunded next time, if that makes sense. So I guess that's my question.
I will briefly say that it seems like we have two different ideas bouncing back and forth. One is for an 18-month grant period, and one is for a 14-month grant period from May-ish through the end of June of 2023. If we fund 14 or 18 months, we still have the total amount that we have to fund all of the grants with. So if we were to do 14 months, the organization would still be able to receive the full amount that they would for 18 months. Their budget would just be shortened and thickened a little bit. So there would be the same amount of funding for a shorter amount of time. I'll go ahead and let you go on. Go ahead, Ron.
I was just trying to sort through, maybe Caroline wants to respond to that before I go. I'm kind of focused on something else
Okay.
related to this, but go ahead, Caroline.
So I just wanted to make sure that when we put the RFP, that we gave them the specific time period, and the folks who applied for the grant applied with a budget that started in January. That's not their fault. And so we have to stick with the RFP in terms of what they have submitted. And so I might have to refer this, I guess, to maybe, I don't know who's on from the Oregon Health Authority, that do we have the authority, because we didn't get to, and we have to change the timeline, that we have the authority to say, well, you have to resubmit now for a 12-month budget, even though the intent was an 18-month budget. And so I think we might be running into some issues by us changing the RFP when they, in good faith, put in for an 18-month budget.
In the RFP, it says from February 1st until January 30th. So February 1st of this year through January 30th of 2023. That is what we requested a budget for. But because we've moved forward, that allows for adjustments. That's what's in the RFP.
Just as a point of clarification, you meant June 23, right? Not January.
June. I'm sorry. Did I say January? I apologize. February 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. I apologize. I don't mean to cause confusion.
But my question was, I'm sorry, go ahead, Carol.
We can't. Yeah, I'm sorry. So my point is the fact that we can't change the RFP. They, in good faith, put in a budget for that time period. So I don't think we could change what was in the RFP. So I don't think this is a debate. This is the fact that we have funded them June 30th of 2023. And so they put in for that total amount. And I think if they could go backwards, there's almost every agreement I have has never come out in time, and it always goes backwards. How do they do that? I don't know. But I think we have to give them an award from February to June 30th. And that's why I'm saying we might need to get someone to make sure that we're within the rules and the procurement process and all that.
Onisha and Dharma, do you mind if we pause a moment to ask if John Collins would be able to give us some information? Okay. John, would you be willing? Thank you.
Yes, of course. Thanks, Angela. This is John Collins, Deputy Director for the Health Systems Division at OHA. To answer Caroline's question directly, yes, you have the authority. We can start the periods for the agreements with the burns at any point and for any length we want to. If you want to do them for 18 months from May forward or June forward, that's fine. It would carry over into the next biennium, obviously, but there will be budget for this in the next biennium. So it doesn't make any difference. To me, the bigger issue for y'all to think through, and I know internally at OHA, we were going to talk about this a little bit more and bring it to y'all in a subsequent meeting. It's really more about the issues of how frequently you pay. For example, if you pay in one big lump sum at the beginning of the grant period, whether it's 12 months or 18 months, or if you pay quarterly and things like that. Part of one of the other issues that Caroline was bringing up was about, well, they applied for a certain amount. Honestly, once we're going to have to look, or y'all are going to have to look through all the awarded amounts and how much money you have available this biennium, and you're going to be making some adjustments to those award amounts anyway. So some people will have asked for, I'm making this up, $100,000, but you're only going to be able to award them 80 because, once you total up everything you have, you're going to have to make some adjustments. So that's going to happen anyway. And as we're writing up the agreements with the individual awardees, that's where some of that negotiation and details will be outlined for them. So you have a lot of flexibility, I guess, is bottom line.
Thank you, John. All right. Onisha, please.
I really, really appreciate John allowing us to know that we have that flexibility. And with that flexibility, I think in all equity and in all compassion of these people thinking they were going to get funded for 18 months, we should fund them for 18 months because there's no guarantee that they will be approved for funding the next cycle. Anything could happen. These grants are very competitive. We get an enormous amount of proposals submitted, and the best ones get chosen. So there's no guarantee that if they get the money this time, that they'll be approved next time. So if we can fund them for a full 18 months, I think we should do that.
Thank you, Onisha. Dharma.
I agree with Keisha, with Onisha. I think that we should, to keep everyone's funding cycles the same, right? So like if they do apply for this next biennium, we should award the amount that we would for 18 months and keep them on the same funding cycle, like keep them on the same funding timeline, right? So like if there's only 14 months left of the biennium, we should be able to approve. What I'm hearing is that we're able to approve the amount that we would have for 18 months. And then just, so we don't need to worry about like it being 18 months versus 14 months or whatever, right? Like are we able to just vote to allow a budget award based on an 18-month award and then disregard whatever's left as far as timeline? That makes sense to me, I guess.
Okay. Thank you, Dharma. Ron.
Yeah, I was just kind of going to go back to John about the process, the funding process, because my understanding is that in 23 legislative session, the legislature has to appropriate more money from the Recovery Services Fund to the council to grant the next cycle. So we'll know what that money looks like during the session or end of the session, which ends of June of 23. And so then once we know that process, once we know kind of what we're dealing with, then we can begin the process, I'm assuming, of the next round of RFPs or RFGs, depending on what the cycle is, or whatever we decide. My question fundamentally is more about kind of how much money is anticipated or projected to be in that next round of funding. Is it because I've been hearing different numbers and different kind of kind of guesses, but I'm just wondering what the projection is. My understanding is that it's likely to increase.
Yeah, thanks, Ron. Actually, what would probably be good for y'all to do in the not too distant future is get a better handle on exactly what you're talking about, Ron, because it's all based off of revenue projections associated with marijuana, and all, to the extent that marijuana sales go up, your budget's going to end up increasing, as long as the current set of rules that we have for allocating to Measure 110 remain in place. As all of y'all know, I think there were some bills that were tried that attempted to make some changes to that this current short session, and I think they all ultimately ended up not succeeding. But yeah, I mean, your money from biennium to biennium is dependent on the revenue forecast, and whoever the forecaster is that's associated with the marijuana taxes would be a great individual to bring in, so you can understand the mechanics of that. But assuming sales stay at where they are right now, you can probably assume that you're going to have a fairly consistent budget from one biennium to the next. If people all of a sudden stopped buying marijuana, your budget would plummet. But
thank you, John.
Thank you, John.
oh, I'm sorry, can I add one other thing to what I said earlier, Angela?
Yes.
Because one of the other things for y'all to consider, as I said, you have total flexibility in terms of the lengths of the grant periods for folks, is if you do want to create some consistency for all the awardees, you might say that you want them to go through whatever month you end up picking, and then when you do a new cycle of awards, you pick them up, or you can even set things up, because you're going to end up, we'll make awards in May, as Angela said, but there might be a few areas of the state where we have to kind of fill in some gaps and work on. Y'all will need to make some direct awards to fill in gaps that might exist, and they may end up starting later, say in June or July, once those agreements with all the different players are set up for a given burn. And maybe you still want them to end in the same month as the majority of everyone else. So again, you have that flexibility to kind of think through. I hope that made sense.
Thank you, John. Yes. Aowen.
Sure. I'm hearing, that some people are proposing that we fund for about 14 months from May 2022 through June 2023. So it'll be 14 months worth of program operations, and award the full 18 months worth of funding that programs may have requested. Angela, is that consistent with your understanding of the conversation?
That seems to be, yes.
Okay. I want to express my grave concern about that, because I've already seen budgets that seem to be more money that seems necessarily reasonable for various items, and many more staff people than I can imagine programs are going to be able to hire in the timelines that they're proposing. And so I think we're going to be giving programs a lot more money than they need, or that they can effectively spend. And given that we already have, the amount of money that has been submitted for, that has been requested through grant proposals, is much more than we have to be able to spend. I think we should not allow for this kind of extra payments without having really clear criteria for how it would be spent. So I would propose that we fund for 14 months, and recognizing that that's a hardship, or 18 months, either one, but have the funding match the programmatic plans and the exact monthly budgets that people have proposed. Thank you.
Thank you, Aowen. Hubert, yes.
Yes, so my concern, if it's a concern, is, are we making sure that the communities that are most impacted by the war on drugs is going to get funded, are getting funded before any other entities are getting funded that may not be representing the cause that we're doing this for? Because I know for a fact that there's entities that are going to get funded that may not generally be representing people who's been impacted by, the war on drugs, or represents people of that nature. So how are we making sure that that's going about and happening to make sure that the people that really truly are impacted are getting the funding that they need to be able to do the work that's needed to be done? Because there's a lot of people getting money, like counties and large organizations that may say that they're representing the people that are impacted by the war on drugs, people of color, but that may not really be representing that population, and which is taken from the populations that can do the work that's needed to be done, that's been impacted by the war on drugs, right? So, because I'm wondering about, because I know in my community there's a lot of grassroots organizations that are trying to build their organizations up and need funding to do that, whether it's hiring people, training people, building infrastructure and that nature, which takes a lot of funding. And I was just kind of concerned that people are getting money that already have money, and it's taken away from people that don't have any money that could do the work for real. So that's where I'm at. That's what I'm wondering.
I'm
done. Thank you.
Oh, okay. I can try and answer that from what we have in the rubric. There are questions in the evaluation rubric about whether or not an organization is serving the communities that have been most impacted by the war on drugs. We can't, as you may remember from discussion several months ago, we can't specifically say this organization gets funds because it is operated by a person who is of a specific protected group. We can say this is an organization that serves one of the communities that, or multiple communities, that Measure 110 sets out to fund. So that is a part of the evaluation, and that is a part that's taken into consideration in the rubrics.
Okay. I'm just checking.
I get it. It's really important that we make sure that the funding goes to folks who have been most affected. That is definitely the goal. And I think that the committee has been keeping that very strongly in mind in the work that they're doing.
Okay. All right.
Keisha.
Yeah, I just wanted to kind of disagree with what Aowen was saying about if we give folks the 18 months worth of funding for the 14 months. What I know is there's some organizations who have had to take out loans to keep staff on, to keep serving the populations most impacted by the war on drugs. So I don't want to give a caveat that they would misappropriate funds if we funded them for what they applied for. I just want to keep that in mind. Like, people are trying hard not to close their doors due to our era. And those funds are expected, to cover the cost that they had to lose in the interim of us getting to the final point.
Thank you, Keisha. Onisha.
Yes, I wanted to speak to that comment as well. When I went to school of social work, one of the first things that they taught us as a best way to handle business with other organizations is to assume good intent. And there is no reason that I feel that any of the organizations that this council is approving through a very thorough process of reading these proposals with a fine-tooth comb, having our OHA staff call them and ask clarifying questions, having several people from several diverse backgrounds vote on whether they agree with the recommendation or not, and filling in every single rubric box, very detailed to everything they wrote in their proposal. Through such a fine-tooth method, I don't think that we'll be just giving money willy-nilly to people who are not going to use this money properly to serve our communities. We must trust these stewards to do their job if we believe in this work. And if all of us applied to be on this council, we applied to be on this council because we believe in change. I am an ex-prisoner, an ex-person that was on drugs. Like I was on drugs, I was a prostitute, I did 15 years in prison. Today, I don't live my life that way. Today, I'm a person of integrity. I believe that the people who are running these programs, from grassroots to county to city, whatever programs, that they are serving people. And if they make it through our process and they are approved, I believe they're using this money for the right reason. And I just want to reiterate, I do feel like we should give them the 18-month total funding, whether it's back pay and give it to them right away and we keep the same fiscal year calendar date, but whatever we need to do to make it easier for them, because these deadlines are on us, not them. We should not make them suffer anymore.
Thank you, Anisha. Henry.
Yeah, as always, I really appreciate the level of passion that we have as a council for wanting to serve folks who are experiencing, substance use disorder or experiencing negative impacts of addiction. So I just really appreciate that. And I also think that there's also, like, I have a lot of questions and I'm not really good with the funding stuff. So like whether we fund for 18 months, or we fund for 14 months, if it's the same amount of money that we're giving folks, I'm not sure why, I don't have a good understanding of how that would positively or detrimentally impact those organizations. It sounds like we would be giving the organizations the same amount of money. It would just be over a shorter period of time, and maybe I'm inaccurate in that understanding. The thing that I do have issue with, or just lots of questions about, is like when we talk about, like, I think there's, I've been a service provider for 15 years in Oregon, right? So I've been working with people with addiction for 15 years. And sometimes I feel like there's an idea or like a dialogue that we're putting forth about status quo treatment being inadequate, or that it's failed, Oregonians with addiction. And that just isn't the case. Just like I can say, having worked in county mental health departments, that there are a lot of individuals in those county health departments that really give a fuck, pardon my language, about the people who they serve, right? And actually don't want them to die from addiction. So I personally take it, I feel like we're doing ourselves a disservice by saying like one group is going to do a better job of providing services than another. I think we can all do it. Like any, all groups are looking to try to help Oregonians not die from addiction. And so I think it's not helpful to create these like ideas that, that anyway, yeah, I guess that's all I got to say about that. So yeah.
Okay. Thank you, Henry. Ron.
Yes, hi, thanks. I just wanted to just circle back a little bit to the evaluation process in terms of kind of what some of the subcommittee people are looking at. And I just wanted to mention that the budgets that we asked for were monthly expense budgets. So they did it by the month. And so whatever the months are that we land on, I think should coincide with the monthly expense budget that they pick. So if it was 14 months, it would be 14 months of expenses, because that's what we asked for. If it's 18 months, I would suggest it would be 18 months of expenses that they identified in their budgets.
Thank you, Ron. So, since I don't see any more hands at this point, I will ask, would it be helpful if we brought you back some options to consider at a meeting coming up, next meeting, to consider some pros and cons of each of those possibilities? I will
I just had a
let
quick
Keisha
question.
go. Yes,
Sorry,
please.
a quick question for Ron. Yeah, the things we're considering are monthly, but what does that say for folks who have continued to keep their doors open all the months they applied for funding and haven't gotten any?
Well, maybe that's something Angela or OHA can speak to in terms of particularly the access to care grantees and maybe any support that they've gotten from OHA or any consideration from OHA to help those organizations
Right, but if we have the power,
bridge from now, from the end of from the period of time that we're doing the evaluations until the beginning of the grant process.
but if we have the power, why would we shortchange the organizations? Why would we go with a dominant culture structure on the way we do this instead of doing it from a different point of view?
And I think it would be a great idea to have OHA bring back some options for us to consider. I like that idea a lot.
Okay, I see Aylin put her hand down, so there's no more questions or comments at this point.
I would like to take is there any way we can gauge where everybody is at right now, or is that not a feasible suggestion?
Well, we could do a poll rather than a vote and just have everybody who, likes the idea of one versus another and see where we're at. Okay, so we have a couple of folks who would like to take the temperature of the room as far as where we're at. So we have what I'm thinking of. We've talked about 4 different possibilities. One is to fund for 14 months with a 14-month budget. One is to fund for 14 months with an 18-month budget. One is to fund for 18 months with an 18-month budget. So that's actually only 3. So those 3 options seem to be the discussion points that are on the table. Have I missed anything that we were considering that I have not said yet?
Yes.
What did I miss?
Retroactive, yeah, a retroactive to fund January 1st, 2022 through June 30th, 2023. That's the another option.
Okay, so number 1 is, let's say,
14 months.
14 months with a 14-month budget. Number 2 is 14 months with an 18-month budget. That was supposed to be a number, not an at. Number 3 is 18 months with an 18-month budget. And number 4 is retroactive back date to January 1 through June 30. Let me put a space in this before I send it so you can actually read it.
So just a clarifying question. So the retroactive means that we give them all the money for the 18 months, but we keep the same fiscal year calendar date?
Backdating would be January 1st through June 30th, and it would be for the 18-month budget.
That's perfect. I like that.
So what's the difference
So
between
they,
2 and 4? It gets a little confusing if we have
So
both
number,
options.
right. Number 2 would be from May through till the end of the biennium. So beginning of May 2022 through the end of June 2023.
Number 2 is 18 months of funding for 14 months.
14 months of 14 months with 18-month budget. Yes.
So I don't understand that May to June. It
So the
does.
total timeline would be from May 22 through June 23. So it's 14 months, but it would be a full 18 months of award amount. And John is letting us know that we cannot do a retroactive on an agreement that doesn't already exist. So that lets us know that the retroactive number 4 is not a possibility.
And can I explain that just quickly? I mean,
Please, thank you. Yes, that would be great.
well, I mean, what you could do that would make it look like a retroactive is just form the agreement from whenever it's awarded and then put the full amount that you would have awarded for the 18 months. That essentially does the same thing. And I think that's kind of what option 2 is there. So it's
Okay,
just not truly retroactive is all.
so then we still have on the table 14 months total, May 22 through June 23, with a 14-month budget. Number 2, 14 months, which would be May of 22 through June of 23, with an 18-month budget that is not retroactive, but can be used for the purposes of funding things that were in the past. And then number 3 would be a full 18 months. So May of 22 through till the beginning of November of 23 with an 18-month budget. Does that
See,
make sense to everybody?
oh, or do we do it in chat, or how do we respond with the
So
temperature?
let's start with number 1, 14 months funding with a 14-month budget. If you like the idea of this one, would you raise your virtual hand and let us know? And we will count your raised hands. All right. Number 2, this is a 14-month. Are you saying yes to the first one or the second one? We're talking about number 2 now? Okay. So for number 2, 14 months of time with an 18-month budget, not retroactive, but with the ability to use those 4 months worth of funding to cover potentially prior expenses. Okay, so we have a lot of folks interested in the 14 month with 18 months of funding. Okay, go ahead and put your hands down for that one, and we'll do number 3, which is 18 months. So beginning of May of 22 through the beginning of November of 23, 18-month time period, 18-month budget. All right.
I actually was raising my hand to ask a question.
Oh, okay. Well then, I will go ahead and please feel free to ask a question.
It's an accounting question, which
Mhm.
is, how do we account for that extra funding?
Well, startup costs could be one way. If startup means making sure that you can do the work and you're not going to have debtors coming after you.
I mean,
that could-
let me be more specific. I'm just from a accounting point of view for OHA, how is that money going to be tracked if it's not listed in the budget as
Mhm.
budget expenses?
Okay.
Is that something worked out later, or I'm just trying to get our
I
temperature?
agree.
Oh,
No, it's a question I would like an answer to. But if it's too late or too early, I'll, submit to the will of the council. But it's an accounting question that I'm puzzled by.
John, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, it would be accounted for based on how the agreement is set up. There's some financial reporting that's going to go out with all of these agreements. So how the money ultimately gets spent, and I can't remember the details of what the draft template looks like off the top of my head, but whoever the grantee is would end up having to indicate in the financial reporting how the money was spent. So yeah, I don't know how much more detail you need, Ron, than
No,
that.
that's fine. I was just curious because if because we asked for, a monthly budget. And so now folks are going to get an extra 4 months of funding. I was just wondering how that would get counted. That's all.
not
Yeah,
really
we're-
getting extra. They're getting what they asked for.
I'm pretty sure OHA is gonna count it, and IRS and the audit and everybody. I'm pretty sure it's a lot of people gonna count it, Ron.
Thank you. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much.
Okay, and I see Dharma's hand.
Oh, yeah, I was just gonna respond to Ron. I guess I don't understand where we would be accounting for them if we already have their budget projections for those 4 months, and we have the understanding of startup costs that they put in the application. So I guess I assume that would get handled when we do the contract. So I guess I was confused about where any discrepancy would be.
Again, I would ask if John has any thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think, well, to the point I made earlier, I mean, if, for example, if we're 4 months behind in awarding an 18-month contract, I mean, what the grantees can do is they can front load some of the initial months that they're spending to get things going and maybe get caught up. That might happen within 4 months. Maybe it happens over 6 months. With a grant, again, which is what we're awarding here, ultimately what we're interested in seeing is that the grantee does what they promised to do within the time period. How they spend their money over that time period to get to that goal is pretty flexible, but we could monitor it through the financial reporting that we'll end up getting from them.
I see Margie. Yes, please go ahead, Margie.
I guess I just want everyone to be mindful of these applications came in, and they were proposals based on what these organizations believe is the work that will be necessary and that they will be providing. But once we figure out how much money each is getting, and which will be fluctuating from what was asked for and what is actually awarded. So you could anticipate that there's going to have to be adjustments to what was submitted when we get into the negotiations in reference to the contracts and those final agreements. So I I wouldn't get so hung up on what how they're going to make those changes. It's normal and expected that when it gets down to the actual contracting, that there will be changes and it will need to reflect the current situation, the current timeline, and how much money is actually available for them to do the proposals that they're submitting. So I don't want us hung up on those kinds of details that are yet to be worked out and normal part of the process of contracting.
So, any further thoughts on this? Do you want to get more information from OHA at a future meeting? Would you like to think about this for a while? Or do you feel that you're ready to make a decision?
I feel like we're ready to make a decision.
Okay.
I do too. I'm just wondering if we got quorum.
We, I believe, had a member step out for a moment, but we also had a member join. We can do a quick head count to see if we have enough folks to do a vote.
It looks as if we have enough for quorum. I could do a quick roll, but I think we have enough.
Okay. So we do have quorum, and we do have a couple of folks interested in making a decision. I leave room for you.
Can I make a motion?
I believe that you can, yes.
I make a motion that we go with option 2 with the 18-month funding for the 14-month period and the details be worked out in the contracts.
Okay, so the motion is, to fund the burns through until the end of June 2023, which would be a 14-month period, but to use the funds that we have available to fund them for the timeline that we spoke of previously, the 18-month timeline. Is that okay? I have a second from Amy. So we have a motion on the table. I will write it in the chat to make sure that we're clear on it. So funding will be from May 2022 through end of June 23. And awards will allow for all right. So there's the motion. Funding will be from May 22 to the end of June of 23, and the awards will allow for a total funding amount of 18 months. That is the motion that we have on the table. Karen, I see your hand, please.
Yeah, I think it's important to heed what Margie said. So I think, rather than people thinking that, oh, I submitted a budget for this amount per month, and now they're gonna award me an 18-month pot of funds based on the budget I submitted. I don't think, I just want to be on the record supporting what Margie said, because we'll we'll have to adjust budgets overall based on the review of the applications and what money we have available to us. So I just wanted to make that statement on the record in support of what Margie said.
Thank you, Karen. Yes, please, Steve.
A really good discussion, and I appreciate the values being talked about. Just one other further consideration is because we don't yet have a total of all the funds that are being requested that this body will approve, extending the period of time that we will pay for the organizations who are approved could end up tightening the budget to the point where there may be some other applications or more fully funding applications that this group then loses some options for payment. So another option would be to wait until you have the full total of approved applications and make this decision at a later point.
Okay. Thank you, Steve. Keisha?
Yeah, I thought we were still going in the spirit of what Margie, when we say may be funded for 18 months, it's still on an individual basis by the application that was submitted. And I don't know. It seems like we're going different directions now.
And that each applicant's funds may be edited based when they work with OHA staff when it comes to fine tuning the contract. Like they'll say the council approved for you to have peer mentors and harm reduction, but they didn't think your SUD treatment was strong enough. So we're going to fund this part of the budget and not this part. So this vote isn't necessarily saying it's going to be approved as is, but what we do approve will be approved for 18 months. I think, right?
Keisha?
Oh, I didn't put my hand down.
Oh, okay. Ron?
You know, I'm just I'm agreeing with Steve Allen that that we don't know what the money looks like, county by county, statewide. It's just hard for me philosophically to think about full budgets and stuff before we see some numbers of kind of what the total picture looks like. That's fundamentally where I'm landing.
Well, we have to make a decision. It sounds like people are fluctuating on whether they want to make the decision now, but now that we know that the funding isn't going to come out on time, this is an authentic curiosity coming from those who are potentially going to be funded. Is their funding stream going to be for 18 months or is that going to change? Are they going to be able to get the full funding stream that they requested and that we told them they qualified for and that we told them we were going to fund them for, or is that going to change? And I think before we got late, now we're late in giving out the funding, which is why this came up. But before we knew that we were going to be late in giving out the funding, this wasn't a consideration. Now that we know that we're late, we're kind of bringing up budget now. So I think we're kind of contradicting ourselves a little bit because this wasn't really an issue, a question when we were on time.
Thank you. Keisha?
Yeah, I was just gonna say, even now, we still don't know the budget situation. We haven't known it the whole time we have been reviewing contracts. So less on budget and more on the proposals, I'm thinking.
Thank you, Keisha. Dharma?
I think that voting this in allows us the discretion to make that decision later on if it's something that we need to do. But I think not voting it in locks us in to whatever timeline we're stuck at when we do get to that end point. And so I think that the discretion is already built into the rules and the funding contract. So I think that voting it in just gives us more flexibility, but we don't have to approve every budget at this like 18-month budget for 14-month timeline if we voted in. It just gives us that option. And I think that we need options more than anything.
Thank you. Any other thoughts at this time? We do have a motion and a second. Yes, Amy.
I just want to be sure I'm understanding. We're voting right now about the motion that Keisha made and I seconded, right?
That is correct.
Okay. And so that means that had we been on time and stuff, sorry, we would been saying that the 18 months that we were going to go with anyway are just going to be compacted into 14 months of them being able to perform what they need to do. But they're still getting the funding, correct? It's just the timeline is changing, not the amount, timeline.
So my understanding of this motion was that the timeline would maintain at the end of June 2023. So
Right.
the grants would wrap
14
up
months.
after 14 months at this time, but the total distributed would still be what we have
Same.
to use for this biennium.
Thank you. That's what I'm wondering, because the project that we want to fund will still be the funded project. It's just the amount of months that we're changing. So that's what I'm looking at. Okay, thank you very much. You answered my question. I still second her.
Okay. We still have a motion and a second on the table. Any other comments or thoughts before we move to a vote?
No further discussion? Okay, I'm gonna
Okay.
take it from the top. Amy,
Yes,
how do you vote?
I vote yes.
Hey, thanks, Amy. Blue,
Yes.
thanks, Blue. Carlos?
Yes, I'm not sure. This is a new commuter. Yes.
Oh, okay. All right. Caroline?
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Caroline. Dharma?
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Dharma. And I think Aowen left us. Henry, how do you vote?
Yep.
All right. Thanks, Henry. Hubert?
Yes.
All right. Thanks, Hubert. Karen?
Yes.
Thank you, Karen. Keisha?
Yes.
Thank you, Keisha. Leticia?
Yes.
Thanks, Leticia. Melinda?
Yes.
Thank you, Melinda. Morgan?
Yes.
Okay, Morgan. Thank you. Nicole?
Yes.
Thank you, Nicole. Onisha?
Yes.
Hey, thank you, Onisha. Ron?
I'm voting yes. I want to point out that you all heard me agree with Steve Allen a little while ago.
Vote. Just vote.
Sabrina?
Yes.
All right. Zeb?
I'm sorry, Andrea, can you state one more time so I know what I'm voting on? I'm sorry, I apologize.
Absolutely, yes.
Yeah.
So the funding will go through May of this year through till the end of June of 2023. And we will use the total amount of funding that we currently have to fund that time period for each of the grants with an 18-month budget.
Yes, I vote for it. Thank you.
Bam. Hey, thanks, Zeb. The vote passes with 17.
All right. All right. We have a decision. Thank you so much.
Yay.
Yay. Yeah.
I'm just
And
wondering, I don't know any more we got to talk about, but the chair position, I don't know if we have enough time to vote. I think we only have one person up for
that's the last topic for today. Yes. I think we had another topic, but we're going to just because I think this will take the right amount of time. We have a tri-chair election. So first off, Sabrina is going to be finishing in her role on the 25th of March. That'll be her last day. So thank you again, Sabrina, for giving a year of service as a tri-chair. Much appreciated. And we had several candidates, but two of our candidates have some other things going on, caring for self and for others. And so we have Blue as our candidate at this time. And I wanted to give an opportunity. I think I sent out the statement that Blue made earlier. Oh, I'll finish my sentence and then I'll let you go ahead, Dharma. But we have Blue, who I sent a statement out for earlier today. And I wanted to give her an opportunity to read her statement. But first, very briefly, I'll ask Dharma would you like to make a comment or?
Yeah, I just had a question about the term lengths for the tri-chairs before we vote. I feel like there was some confusion. I know that, I guess my understanding was that we had this tapered initial chair time length that extended one person to 18 months and one person to 2 years. Is the term limit or term length rather for chairs 1 year, or does it rotate based on the initial chair's departure time? Does that make sense?
I believe that the intention was for the chair positions moving forward to be 1 year. So any chair voted in at this time would serve from March 26th through March 26th of 2023. And then the next chair election, which let's just say it's in, anyway, any chair election that moves forward from here, that would be a year-long position for each of the chairs. All right. So at this point, if I may, I will pass it to Blue to go ahead and share some reasons why she's interested in becoming a tri-chair.
Awesome. Thank you. So I'm just going to pull up what I typed up last night. So I'm interested in becoming a tri-chair for many reasons. Decriminalization is super important to me, and I'm excited overall to be on this council and working on the implementation of Measure 110. The reason that I wanted to run for tri-chair at this time is really just because it was brought to my attention that, and I could be wrong as well, but that both Keisha and Ron do a lot more work in the Portland metro area. So, and if that is accurate, I just wanted to sort of be a voice for service providers and harm reduction providers in smaller cities and counties in Oregon, and make sure that, we have different perspectives, because programs look really different in different parts of the state. And really, I'm hoping to amplify the voices of other council members that have concerns or new ideas. And also, I would like to work more closely with OHA staff in a way that can bring the council more support, because they have a lot of experience. And so, hopefully they could, clarify how some of our systems work, what our options are, so that we still have the power to make those choices, and we're not, we're still driving the car or one of the airplane or whatever our analogy was. So I also want to just hopefully find ways to continue to meaningfully engage with people who use drugs, and making sure that we are checking in with them and that they have a voice on the types of programs and the needs that they have, so that we can make this as successful as possible and help as many people as possible. I also would like to find a way down the road to make sure that organizations who are funded through Measure 110 are doing the things they said they're going to do, even though somebody has really good intentions when they apply. I think if we need to, down the road, look at a system that we can come up with to make sure that they are being held accountable and that they are doing, what they are supposed to do. I recently lost another friend to overdose, and so I really also am passionate about making sure that we are removing barriers and making sure people have access to as much naloxone as they need, and making sure that I don't know, that people don't die. I know that's often out of my hands, but in theory, trying to give people the support that they need. And I also just would like to circle back with some of our other ideas once we get this funding out the door, to really take looks at how we can revamp the phone line, how we can, increase our communications, and, the media subcommittee is certainly one way. And I would like to also hopefully find ways that we can encourage people to get their fees waived, get their citations dropped, and complete a screening survey, because I think that's a piece that sort of just fell out of what was happening right now. And so I think it would be great to be able to address that again down the road. And that's pretty much it. I'm just really excited to be, a part of Measure 110 and a part of history. And, I've always felt as though the war on drugs is racist and designed to oppress and marginalize people. And so, I'm excited that we can help focusing on how to better support people who use drugs. Thank you.
I make a motion that Blue is our next tri-chair.
Second.
All right, well, we have motions and seconds. Let's do a vote when you're ready, Walter.
Any further discussion and then a vote?
Oh, thank you, Keisha. Yes. Anyone have any comments or thoughts?
Hey.
Go
Okay.
Blue.
Let's go. Hey, stop for the, oh, sorry. We have discussion. And Zeb, you're up.
Hey, Blue, will you answer my email if I email you?
Of course.
Okay, cool. Good luck.
Thanks, Zeb. Okay, we're going to take it from the top. Amy, how do you vote? Uh-oh, there you go.
Yes.
Okay.
I couldn't unmute.
Hey, thank you. All right. Blue cannot vote for herself, or can she? She can.
That's a good question.
I
anyone
think
have-
The first round, we were able to vote for ourselves.
Blue,
Okay.
how do you vote?
I guess I'm going to vote for myself then. Thank you.
Okay, all right. Carlos?
Yes, I'm glad, Blue. I look forward to working alongside you a lot more.
Awesome. All right, Caroline.
Yes.
All right. Dharma.
that-
Yes, I got you. Thank you, Caroline. Dharma?
Yes.
Thank you, Dharma. Aowen has left. Henry. Oh, Henry says yes before he left. So you have Henry's vote of approval. Hubert.
Yes. Yes, I vote yes.
Nice. Thanks, Hubert. All right, Karen.
Yes.
Thanks, Karen. Keisha.
definitely, yeah.
Hey, all right. And Leticia.
For Blue.
Does that yes? Oh, there you go. Okay. Melinda, thank you.
Absolutely, yes.
Hey, thank you, Melinda. Morgan.
Yes, most definitely.
Thank you, Morgan. Nicole.
Yes.
Thank you, Nicole. Onisha.
Hell yeah.
Thank you, Onisha. Ron?
Absolutely, yes.
All right, Ron. And Sabrina.
Yes.
Thank you, Sabrina. And Zeb.
Yes, all day and twice on Sunday.
Hey, let's give it up for our newest member, Blue Valentine.
Woo!
Yay.
Unanimous.
Welcome, welcome.
I just wanted to jump in really quick because I realized, well, first of all, thank you everybody, because I was raised in a house where I was told that nobody would like me if I if I was my true self. And although I've like deprogrammed a lot of that, I still definitely unconsciously think that in a lot of situations. So thank you. And I just wanted to take a moment to apologize to both Karen and Caroline, who I think are both here right now, and let you both know that I thought I was on mute a couple of weeks ago, and my computer said I was on mute and I was not, and I would never intentionally talk over people like that. And so I want to apologize because it happened, but it was not intentional. And I just wanted to let you all know that as well.
All right. Thank you, everyone. I just got to say that was a really awesome meeting. We had unity on all the votes. Everybody did a great job of discussing, bringing their points, and listening to each other. So just good job. That was awesome. So thank you so much. Just a couple of action points, dropping them in the chat. Remember to please have all of the finalized rubrics to us by the end of the day on the 6th. I will be available 8 a.m. to 10 p.m. over the weekend and during the week. Jessica will also be available 7 to 7 during the week. And then Blue will take office on the 26th, but we'll definitely start including you in some of the conversations so that you can get your feet under you and get comfortable with the role. And then the last reminder is please send Isra your stipend requests with me CC'd moving forward so that we can get your stipends processed quickly. And that is it for today.
Excuse me.
Yes. Oh,
Did
Melinda.
you just say send our stipend request to you now?
Yes. Moving forward, all stipends will come to Isra. Isra will be processing them. If you CC me, I can approve your stipends, and then Isra can take them and get them processed.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm. And then Amy, and then Deb.
So, so I submitted my stipend last month and hadn't gotten anything from that. Do I have to redo it?
I don't think so. I think that they've been processed. It's just a slower timeline right now. But reach out to me, let me know if it's been, let's see, I believe it's a 3-week processing, 3 to 3.5 week processing period. Reach out to us and let us know, and we can figure out what's happening and make sure that it gets taken care of.
Can I call you after this meeting then? Because a lot of that's where I didn't get paid from work that hours I'm missing there. So can I call you after this?
Yes, absolutely.
Thank you.
Please do.
Okay, thanks.
Thank you. And then Deb, yes.
This is Hubert.
Oh,
hello.
Hi, Hubert.
How you doing? I have never, ever gotten a stipend since I've been on this council. Ever, never, ever. Not one. Since the beginning. And that's not the council fault. That's my fault because I need to know the processes so I can get this done. That's all I'm saying.
Well, let us clarify that for you and make sure that you know exactly what you need to do. We'll get you a blank invoice so you know what to fill out. And then once you filled it out, send it to Isra and me, and we'll get it processed for you.
That's when I've been dropping the ball. That's where I've been dropping the ball at on that. So, all right.
We'll take care of it for sure.
All right. Thank you.
All right. And then Deb, go ahead.
Yeah, just real quick. So on non-meeting days, if you're reviewing grants, like is that a day? Now, is it it's Monday through Friday? Is that the time there?
I think that if you work any day of the week, regardless, the stipends can be paid for the days that you work.
All right. Thank you.
Yes, of course. All right. Any last minute questions, or may I let y'all go back to your day? All right. I hope you have a beautiful evening.